After a series of wide-ranging economic reforms, Egypt is in an enviable position. High growth rates, record foreign investment and a big push to turn the country into a services hub are fueling a boom, with major international companies trying to muscle in on the act. But can Egypt sustain this goal amidst a global economic crisis? Earlier this year, growth estimates were revised downwards from 8 to 7%, still an impressive figure. But could the boom be slowing? And how is the country managing the difficult balancing act between maintaining economic growth and calls for greater political reform?
As a global economic downturn looks set to worsen and the US economy teeters on the brink of recession, Egyptian leaders in London for a recent conference were keen to insist the country's institutions are well placed to ride out a downturn.
We don't really have the problems that have been facing some of the developed market issues related to subprime borrowers in mortgage finance areas or others who don't really have that kind of a problem at all, for a simple reason that Egypt during the late 1990s and the early years of this decade have been reforming its banking system, and we have been putting tough measures and scrutinizing the activities in the financial institutions, especially banks.
Our 6 months figures have been announced, reaching $7.6 billion US dollars. Our target for this year is probably pretty much along the same lines of last year.
Many analysts say it's too early to tell how well Egypt might weather a downturn, but so far at least the country's economic story is a success.
I think it's a very, very attractive economy in which to invest in. I mean, the demographics and the macroeconomic picture is extremely good.
The government is also aggressively trying to diversify the economy to make it less dependent on traditional forms of income such as tourism. The architects of Egypt's modern economy believe the country can compete with titans like India in business process outsourcing. As the government liberalizes Egypt's economy, it's under increasing pressure at home from the US, EU and others to continue with political reforms. Egypt's democratic credentials are regularly criticized by international human rights organizations who claim opposition groups and media are prevented from operating freely.
In terms of the current political situation, there are challenges to the government from the Muslim Brotherhood in particular, which the government is having to deal with. But on the whole, I think that there has been, I would say, steady progress on the political reform side, but obviously not as fast as the economic reform.
The need for political change is something the government says it is addressing.